Hello and welcome back. This is the old Albert haul from last week, and I've just been thinking about this. I quite often want to uncouple a model at this point here and take it away and replace it with something else. So it would be nice to have an uncoupling ramp there. Possibly also nice to have one in that middle area there at the station where I could break a rake of coaches, and one further down there just after that crossover there. Quite often I can run around a set of coaches through these crossovers, so that would add an element of play to the layout that isn't currently there. So at the moment I have to use the older hand uncoupler, and I've resisted the urge at putting those trying Hornby uncoupling ramps in, because they do cause unintended uncouplings, and when I'm using the older Mark II couplings on older stock, it just makes them spring apart. So it would be a really great thing to come up with a solution for that. So these are the natural choice of uncoupling ramp, I suppose, for Super 4. There are 4 88s, 6 of these in the box. These came along in 1962. They're available until the end of Super 4. 1973, I think. But the trouble with these is they're always on, and when you pass one of these Mark II couplings over, it generally uncouples at an inopportune moment, because there's no hook really for this to catch on, so it just pushes them up. Some unreliability also with the Mark IIIs as well. Occasionally you get an uncoupling unintentionally, so we'll pop that down. They're quite nice things though. And then I think slightly later with System 6 track, there were some other variants of uncoupling rails and re-railers, and this is the basic one, which is our 617, available from 1970. I think it came with a great marker post, just clips straight into the track, although they do tend to damage when you take them out. I use the marker post to give me the numbers for the points, so I can see them from the end of the layout. So that was another great thing. But having seen Barry Davies' great YouTube channel, he uses these automatic uncouplers where you can switch them on and off with a point motor, surface mounted point motor. And here's the old packaging for it. So blister packed uncoupling unit, various bits and pieces on the back here telling you what you need and how to use it, and a warning: not suitable for children under 36 months. I mean, would you? There you have it. So here's the instructions. It comes in a number of parts, and it fits between either 2 straights, or it could fit in the gap in the rail, in the sleepers, sorry, in a double straight. That's the natural gap when you put two pieces of track together anyway. So that slider unit there that we see in the bed for it to sit in just sits neatly into there. So Barry uses these to terrific effect on his layout. You really should have a look. They are great fun. It gives a really good element to the toy train set, and that's what I'd quite like. So I had a play with them, or this one in particular. I cut a few pieces of track to try and fit it in, and then discovered really that wasn't the way to go. So I didn't really have to modify the track bed apart from trimming off some of the sleeper ends in the end, and one of the rails I've had to file a bit out to accommodate the slider. If we have a look here, you can see this slider element here. As it turns out, once I'd mounted it correctly on the track bed, I just needed to take a bit out there just to recess that to allow it to slide under the rail. Remarkably simple in the end. I wish I'd thought of it first. So here is the old unit. It doesn't come with a motor. You have to purchase one of those separately. So in the end, it becomes quite an expensive item, whereas these little uncouplers, I believe, were like pocket money. So you're into, over the £10 mark once you get the 2 items together. So there we go. It's a very reassuring click, isn't it? And I've got the old capacitor discharge unit, so it gives it a really good belt. So we'll pull a couple of wagons on here, and then we'll see how we do with it. So there we go. And we'll just fire the old thing again, and then we'll just separate them. There we go. So I think a lot of fun could be had with that. So I intend to get another couple of these and have a play with them. Now there are some fins on here, and I've read other people have had some problems with them catching on couplings or the bottom of locomotives, but mainly what I've found is that it doesn't really like the strikers on the bottom of these old Mark II couplings. It tends to jam. So I've got another one of these on order, and I'm going to cut them off because I don't think the fins really will really affect the way that the old coupling and uncoupling work. So we'll just turn that off, and we'll just bring those together again, so you can run it over quite happily. But as I say, the old Mark II couplings, they tend to get caught in it sometimes, and they could bring your old train to a stop. And they also don't seem to push the Mark IIs up high enough to uncouple them. So whilst probably not a practical solution for uncoupling this type of coupling, at least these would pass over it. There we go. See how that's just caught in the fin. So I think if I take the fins off, they'll pass over without uncoupling, and then I can use them when I'm ready with the old Mark IIIs. There we go. And we'll separate those again. So they're a really great thing. I think I'm going to definitely try and include some of these in the layout in the next month or two. So we'll just have a look slightly more closely how I fitted it in. You can see these tabs here are designed to go under the rails on System 6, just the ends of them, but they sit quite nicely just on the edge of the Super 4 track down there, and that seems to be the right height initially. I don't know why I was trying to sit them slightly lower, but there isn't really enough to glue them on like that, and it also leaves this too flexible. So there is a little cardboard tab under there and there glued to the base of the unit, and then that's glued to the track bed, and it seems to work quite well, and it gives it a lot of makes it quite rigid. As I say, those fins do look quite large, don't they? So if I pull the wagon on there, we can see that in conjunction with that. So they are quite large. I don't think losing these fins is going to do me any harm. It's certainly going to help the old Mark II couplings. So I'll just pull that back again. And if I throw the switch, you can just have a look at how that slider works in there. So just excuse the old wobbly camera work and just give that a watch. So it's quite a reassuring click, isn't it? And then down again. And again, these this bed that the slider sits in had some ends on it which were designed to sit neatly around the System 6 track ends, and I've just had to trim those off. So it is quite simple, and I've got a little bit of card under the point motor just to raise the height of it. And you can see the old trimmed sleeper ends just in there. So I was quite pleased with that. The old point motors, of course, you need to get one of those for each one you're going to use. And it's a current Hornby item. This is one I've had for some time, so it's got quite an old price on it. And there's the old item number there. I believe that's R8243. We'll just pop that to one side. So I think that they're going to turn out to be quite good fun. One of the drawbacks, well, it's possibly not a drawback, but what I've noticed is that sometimes the coupling, the bottom of the striker, I don't know whether we can see, just down here, the bottom of the striker might lie sometimes just to the edges. The uncoupling ramp itself is very narrow compared to the older trying Hornby one, so this hook can sit, if we just look at that, just to one side of it, in which case it wouldn't make it move up when you operate it. And I referred to this as automatic before. I suppose it's not really automatic, it's more electrically controlled, isn't it? But these words just spring to mind. So if I just move that wagon on as well, see we're all coupled up there, and see if we can have a look slightly closer when we operate the switch. So just make sure we're in the centre of the unit there. I don't know whether we can get a good view of that. Keep your eye on those hooks. There we go. And then we can separate them. And I think I might have hours of fun with that. So I've just been having a look at how these would fit in, and I think I'm going to try one here to start with. I've got the room for it. I don't think anything will foul on this point motor. It actually sits lower than the rail head on the Super 4 track. So I think when I'm feeling up to it, I'll remove this track there, and we'll pull that back so I can get into here and fit one on there. So that'll give me the opportunity as well of changing these point motors over to some of the slightly early ones which I got earlier in the year, and I can have a good clean of these points while they're out, and sort of improve their reliability while I've got the opportunity. I think possibly I was being a bit optimistic and thinking about putting one in midway down the station. It's too complicated with the old masts. I think I'm not going to be able to do that, and I think if it works well, I might try and put one there. It'll fit there. I don't think it's going to have any problem with the coaches coming over the points there. But I think what I might do, if it works well there by the station, I'll put one in there where we can see the old LMS brake van there. I'll put one on the side there so I can start using that siding, and we can use some of the old Mark II couplings. But that's the plan anyway. Whether it works or not is another matter, but it's just a bit of fun really. The whole thing is just a bit of fun. So you'll have to excuse me for a moment or two. I've jumped ship a little here. So we've got some terrific Hornby 003 rail track here. I did used to have a layout with quite a bit of this down on an 8x4 board. There's a single video on YouTube you can look at if you'd like to, but sadly when I had the layout I had none of these electrically operated uncoupling ramps, and I believe from what I read these came along in 1954. So if we just operate the old switch and have a look at the old operation, we'll bring that along. That's really great, isn't it? So you can uncouple on the move. So if I just join those two up again like that, and if I back the wagons onto it this time, again, just watch how that jumps up. So there's current flowing through that the whole time you've got the finger on the button, so we don't want it pressed for too long. So if I back that on there, and then off again. Really great thing, isn't it? So we'll just have another go there. So we'll bring that across. There we go, and we'll couple them up again and back them on. And off we go. So it could be used in two ways, which I think is a really terrific idea. And it's all down to the way that Hornby 00, I think they developed the couplings. I'm not sure whether they might have pinched the idea partially from somebody else, but they're certainly a terrific idea. It's a slightly different route than that Trying Railways took. Of course, there was always the old manually operated uncoupling ramp. So just operate it with the switch there. Terrific things, aren't they? Just look at that. All that metal work. It really is a piece of engineering, isn't it? The hours that must have gone into devising how this went together. Really super things. So we'll just pop that down. So I have one here, electrically operated one, in its box. Here we go on the end of the box there. Somebody scribbled a price look, and we've got sellotape on it. I think that's the catalogue number, EUBR, and that's electrically operated uncoupling rail with switch, Made in England by Meccano Limited, Liverpool. Printed in England. Oh, I think it's in another language on the other end of the old box there. So we'll just open that up and have a look. I'll just pop that down to one side. I came across this a couple of years ago. I thought it's a really great looking thing, and that must be a different price, so it must have been at a higher price perhaps. I think that is a higher price than the one on the end of the box, isn't it? I think that says 13 and 9, and we've got 14 and 3 in there. So it's in terrific shape. So I'll just pop that down and we'll have a quick look at it. So quite shiny. There has been a little bit of rust taken hold. That's the trouble with this old tin plate stuff. You can see the old writing, and I think that's a part number perhaps there, or patent number, just included in the moulding of that uncoupling part there. Really terrific things. The hours that must have gone into devising this. It's lovely, isn't it? You can see a little bit of rust there. I'll probably give that a bit of a clean. So pop that down to one side and get the old operating switch. Great looking thing, isn't it? I don't know whether that's Bakelite or plastic. It sort of looks like Bakelite sort of stuff. And it's a push to run, so as I say, you don't want to keep your finger on the old button for too long. And we'll pop that down. Here we've got the old instruction sheet. So it's a nice blue colour. It sends the colour temperature on this iPhone crazy when you look at this. So there we go. Nice simple wiring diagram. You can run it from a battery as well, it says here. Great little thing. The paper's very delicate, very soft. So possibly rust gone into the old paper there. So pop that down, but the best bit of all, it has a guarantee. Let's see if we can get that out of the box. Just look at that. Printed, it's not like tissue, it's slightly maybe greaseproof type paper. It's a lovely thing, isn't it? Tested and guaranteed. Really is terrific. Well, I think that's probably it for this week. If you look back again next time, we'll probably have something from the Hornby range. But thanks again for watching. Goodbye now.